Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about young Andrew Tate and his little debacle that he got himself into by getting arrested for trafficking. Now you guys see the title and thumbnail. Now, I personally think that all of this is nothing more than a bunch of BS on my end personally. So I just want to give you guys, I guess, my perspective on the entire situation. So we know that in April of 2022, Andrew Tate was arrested for trafficking after someone called and said that his girlfriend was being detained there against her will. They went to Andrew Tate's home, they arrested him, and then they found out that those charges were unfounded and they let him go. Now what we have here is Andrew Tate being arrested here again in December 2022. Sometime after the first initial incident. Now, could it be that they launched an investigation into the dealings of Andrew Tate? I think that that is a real possibility that we must consider. However, I want to point out a few things. The first thing that I will say is the only real, I guess, blemish that you can throw at Andrew Tate is that he ran an adult webcam business. Now, with dealing with women in the adult webcam business, for me, they are nothing more than online strippers. In dealing with women that are willing to sell their bodies online, you must realize that at some point, you must realize that they probably come from not so good backgrounds, that these women probably have broken homes, they probably have issues with their parents. So it's easy to assume that if another shady business or government entity or whoever went to one of these women who maybe didn't have the best relationship with Andrew and said, do this or else, or do this and we'll give you X amount of dollars. Do you think these women will be honorable in their and tell them no and stand up and be like, no, I'm not going to do that? Of course not. They're going to fold to that pressure almost immediately. You know what I'm saying? So that is the only real blemish on Andrew Tate, is having this adult webcam business. Now, he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to employ these women to do these things. And I would assume that when he set these things up, he set it up in a way that these women would be taken care of. All the things that I personally heard about Andrew Tate is that he's very gentlemanlike and he's very friendly and he's very honest with the women that he employed with his webcam business. Do I know that 100%? But that's the word on the street. So we can take that with a grain of salt or we can believe it. Generally, I would believe it because with a guy that gets as popular as he's gotten over the past couple of years, there would probably be more women coming out, speaking out against Andrew and trying to, extort more money from him. So that's why I personally believe that these charges probably aren't true. Okay. The second thing I want to get into is I want to inform you guys that the government bodies don't care about human trafficking. They simply don't care, right? They want you to believe that they care about human trafficking. They want you to believe these things, but essentially they don't care. And the reason we know that they don't care about these things is because if they can arrest Andrew Tate for human trafficking, a big public figure with a large following, this and that, but they openly choose to keep the Ghislaine Maxwell list private, away from the eyes of the public, tells you right away these people don't care about human trafficking. And don't let them fool you into thinking that they care. Don't believe these articles that are being written talking about how bad human trafficking is and the victims and this and that. They don't care. They don't care because that list still exists. And for all the women who are championing and applauding Andrew Tate being arrested for this, you should also be asking for that list. In my opinion, every woman in the world should be asking for that trafficking list. It should be like the number one thing, but they're not going to ask for it because they haven't been told to care about it. And this is a part of Andrew Tate's message. You only care about what they tell you to care about, which is true. And he has not come out and said anything that was inherently wrong. Now, you can argue the semantics of what he said. You can argue the way that he said it. But if you can't take the blunt, honest, open truth, I don't know what to tell you. So let's talk about this back and forth that he had with Greta Thunberg, right? It's not ironic to me because I don't think that life has any ironies. I don't think nothing in life happens by coincidence. Everything that happens in life is meant to happen. So he had that back and forth with Greta, in which he said, I have 33 cars. I'll email you, blah, 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 blah. And she replied, email me at Small Dick Energy. You know, it's interesting because if Andrew Tate had come out and said, you know, Greta Thunberg is as flat as a board, everyone would have been like, you're body shaming. You're body shaming a young 19-year-old girl. How dare you? That would have been the rhetoric. She can openly go and shame Andrew about the size of whatever, you know? And that's perfectly okay. And that is one of the major issues that we have in our society right now. On one side, you can do and say whatever you want. And on the other side, you have to be respectful and all these things at all times, which I find to be stupid. Because if you're going to say something like that to somebody, you should be able to take it back. And I'm not saying that Andrew Tate said anything disrespectful back to her. You know what I'm saying? I'm not insinuating that. I'm just saying if you're going to open your mouth or you're going to tweet something like that, you better be ready for the backlash, because I'm sure she probably got a lot of it. And it's also interesting, the name of the organization that arrested Andrew is named Greta. Interesting. And I don't think Greta Thunberg is a puppet of the World Economic Forum or any of those organizations. I believe that she's in on it. If we go back and we just quickly examine, just take a quick look, we'll see that she's been giving these speeches for a very long time, which tells me that she's being groomed by somebody to have these perspectives, to speak in these, to speak at these like public events and things like that. So she's probably a part of whatever society that exists at the top. She's probably in on it, just not telling everybody else. Because I don't think, like, at this point in society, the way that things are, I don't think that anybody who goes with that narrative, they have to be in on it. Because if you're not in on it, it doesn't make sense for you to be a puppet. Now, the puppets could be the people who like and retweet and virtue signal, like all that stuff. Those are puppets. But anybody that has a following that's telling somebody to submit and, you know, to climate change, like all this stuff, you need to re-examine what these people are telling you and really examine if it's true. Like, for the most part, the CO2 argument has been debunked, right? These people don't care about the climate, okay? They don't care about trafficking. They don't care about the climate. I'll give you an example. I live in California, right? And California has a bunch of green laws and green tax, and it's all really just a ploy to get money from people, right? It's a ploy to get money from people to make the houses expensive so nobody can afford them, this and that. There's a thing that exists called hempcrete, right? And what hempcrete can do is, well, first of all, it's a completely renewable resource. But it also has another unique property in which that it sucks CO2 out of the atmosphere, making the hempcrete harder and stronger over time. If they really cared about climate change, why are they not looking at using things like hempcrete for construction, especially out here in California where there is a massive problem with pollution? They're telling you to go get an electric car. So when they do their next lockdown, they can be like, oh, we're going to shut your car off because everything is closed. You can't leave your house. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the grocery store, you're going to have to show a QR code to get in. And then we're going to track everything that you buy. That's what's coming. And this is what Andrew Tate's trying to warn people about. In my opinion, we don't live in a matrix, but they are desperately trying to create one. And while people are sitting here arguing about the dynamics between men and women and relationships, red pill, blue pill, all this other bullshit, they're over here gathering up resources. They're out here doing mass casualty drills for their next scam on people, while we sit and argue about shit that does not fucking matter. And this is the biggest point that he's trying to drive home. He may talk about the dynamics between men and women relationships and this and that, but listen to the in-between statements. You have to listen to the in-between statements, because if you're not listening to the in-between statements, you're missing the message. They are actively trying to make it to where you can't do anything without them knowing. But you, the individual, know nothing about the government, but they will know everything about you. I said back in 2020 in one of my videos, driving was the last freedom that you had. Because right now, you can, if you have the money, you can put gas in your car and you can drive anywhere you want to in this country. You can go anywhere you want in this country as long as you have the money to put the gas in your car. Driving across the country in an EV is a little bit harder. I know they have the Tesla charging stations, they have this and that, but it's still not as easy as just getting in your car, putting some gas in it, and just going. But when these EVs are being mandated on people, you're going to see people not being able to travel in the way they want. They can shut your car off remotely. They can do anything they want. You won't be able to leave your house. You won't be able to do anything without them knowing, without their permission. Yet people will sit here and argue that Andrew's such a bad guy. He's a misogynist. He hates women, this and that. But you won't even look at the fact that the world leaders, quote unquote, are doing everything that they can to control your life. And there's only a small percentage of people that are aware of this and that are actively resisting it. Meanwhile, the rest of you are sitting there talking about and doing things that don't freaking matter. The thing that they do not want anyone to realize is that we have the numbers on our side, that we can demand the change if we so want it. But if we want change, then we have to be inherently responsible for our choices. We can't waste a bunch of time on things that don't matter. And we really have to set our priorities straight as a people. Questions, comments, concerns, put them down below. See you guys next time. Peace.